Welcome everyone, this is Vortigern, and today's video will not be about existing servants, but rather about servants that don't exist yet. That's right, let's talk about the servants that I would like to see implemented the most. And it's a top 10. Yay! 10 legends, here we go. Number 10. El Cid. I think I've heard this one quite a bit. El Cid is quite an important legend from Spain, and not only that, he's also relatively easy to make since most of his arsenal is already named and has known abilities. That said, there's a reason why I only have him at 10. While I would like to see FGO's vision of El Cid, I feel like he would ultimately end up as a very vanilla heroic spirit. He has his famous horse, he has his shield, and he has his sword. A very standard heroic spirit. Number 9. While we're in Iberian Peninsula, there's another name that's less known outside of Spain and Portugal, but still quite popular within them. And that is the symbol of freedom, Viriathus. Viriathus is a Celtic leader that opposed the Roman invasion, much like Boudica. However, Viriathus is quite a different beast altogether. Unlike many of the other enemies of Rome, Viriathus never actually lost to the Romans. Viriathus, despite being similar to Boudica, was actually much more similar to Robin Hood. He won most of his battles by baiting the Roman forces into traps. He was so difficult to deal with that the Romans had to resort to assassination to deal with him. In the end, Viriathus would die at the hand of the same people he tried to protect, as they were bribed by the Romans. As for the people that betrayed him, well, of course, the Romans killed them. Even the Romans were like, we don't trust those that betray their leaders. Number 8. Theseus. I know what you're thinking. Another Greek hero? Don't we already have enough of them? No, there is never enough Greek hero. Theseus is best well known for his legend at defeating the Minotaur, but Theseus is a lot more than that. Theseus is technically the first big hero of Greek mythology, older than Hercules and Achilles. In fact, Hercules' myth is heavily inspired by Theseus, as, for example, Hercules' 12 labors, well, they were inspired by Theseus' 6 labors that came first. So much of Theseus' legacy then became the much more known legends of Achilles and Hercules. So I would be interested in seeing what they would do with Theseus. Number 7. Sir Kay. Now we're in the Round Table. Sir Kay is already confirmed to exist as a servant, as he was mentioned as being one of the people that rebelled against Arturia in Camelot's Singularity. But the big reason why I want him as a servant is because he's actually a lot cooler than one might think. Kay is a hothead that constantly gets in trouble because of his temper, but he's also one of the most loyal knights to Arturia. He's also got some interesting abilities, as he's described as having similar abilities to Cuchulaine's Warp Spasm, as well as his sword not allowing opponents to heal wounds. Sir Kay is also responsible for hunting down Cath Balug, although in most interpretations he never succeeds. Number 6. Still on the Round Table train, Sir Palamedes. Palamedes is a Saracen knight that is originally Tristan's antagonist in Tristan's legend, but that later on ends up joining the Round Table. Despite being an antagonist, Palamedes is never actually described as being evil or bad, and is always described as just your normal knight. But what makes me want to see Palamedes the most is his quest of hunting down the questing beast. There's also the clash that Palamedes and Gawain would ultimately have, as Palamedes was killed in cold blood by Gawain, even as Agravain told Gawain to stop, grieving afterwards because Palamedes was such a good knight. Which, by the way, is the only moment in legend that Agravain actually showed compassion towards someone. Like, I want to see the only knight that made Agravain grieve for their loss. Number 5. Vortigern. Still in the Arthurian legends, the big bad Vortigern. There's not much to say about him. He's the king that invited the Saxon invasion of Britain. He's also already mentioned in a Bedivere flashback by Arthurian. So I would be interested to know how he's depicted, because despite being a big bad, he's actually kind of incompetent once you start reading about him. Like, he did a lot of stupid things. Number 4. Shaka. Now we're in Africa. Shaka Zulu's story is kind of one of those amazing stories that you hear from Alexander the Great and Genghis Khan. Except he was born in the wrong era and was just beaten by the English. But even with that, Shaka has a lot of potential as an amazing servant. Not only was he an amazing military leader, but he was also supposedly very intellectual. He was such an impressive leader that the English even brought him to Queen Elizabeth for a conversation. In the end though, Shaka got handed the short stick of history. When he returned from Britain to Africa, he was assassinated in a power struggle for the Zulu. I would really like to see him as a servant. Hopefully not as a berserker because of that one moment where he went nuts and killed a cow, but as a smart and cunning leader that could even stand his ground against a powerhouse like Queen Elizabeth. Number 3. Saladin. Best known for his battles against the Crusades as well as his capture of Jerusalem. By far one of the calmest military leaders during the Crusade era. Saladin is definitely a servant I would like to see portrayed. He was praised by both allies and enemies alike, and he is also famous for being Richard Lionheart's opponent during his crusade. Saladin is by far one of the most famous leaders from the Middle East that's portrayed in such a good light by practically everyone. Known for his generosity and kind heart, there are many legends of him depicting him as someone who would rather give to the poor than to enrich himself. Because he would give so much to the poor, when he actually died, he didn't even have enough money for his own funeral. Like, I want to see this guy as a servant, this powerhouse of the Crusade era that managed to capture so many hearts from all sides. Number 2. Skuld. You probably haven't heard of this name, but Skuld is a princess from Scandinavian legend. She's supposedly a half-elf, being the child of a male human and a female elf. But what's truly impressive about her is that she is the definition of a true fantasy witch. Invisibility spells, summoning of familiars strong enough to kill multiple heroes, charms, curses, even resurrecting armies on the spot. She is the embodiment of a true fantasy witch, and without a doubt would make for a terrifying caster if ever used. She's also quite flexible for reimagining. While her story depicts her as evil, you can very easily twist her story however you want, making her a true villain or a misunderstood character. Her death was also quite brutal, by far the worst death in this whole list. After she was restrained, her enemies pretty much did everything imaginable to her until she died. Number 1. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who wants to see one of these made a servant. Queen Elizabeth or Catherine the Great. I want an Empress type servant. And yes, I know Semiramis is already there and I love her for it, but Semiramis plays more the role of a scheming behind the scenes empress rather than the upfront, full of authority, confident and elegant that either Elizabeth or Catherine would be like. Either one of them would make for an amazing servant in my eyes, as being these figures of absolute power that had entire nations at their knees. Marie Antoinette alternate version is a very good example of what I mean by exuding authority. Just one look and you already know that you have to be careful around her, a figure that demands respect and worship, otherwise it's off with your head for you and your family. but Antoinette's altered design is more like how an evil empress would look like. I want to see a true empress from Elizabeth or Catherine, where every step demands attention and respect, where everyone is literally in their palms as pawns to be used. And that's the servants that I would like to see implemented the most. There's obviously plenty of other legends from other parts of the world, so what would be the legend you would like to see implemented the most? Anyway, thank you for watching. If you enjoy my content, like the video and subscribe. Also, leave a comment down below as it really helps my channel. Until next time, bye.